people call us fanatics, I consider ourselves enthusiasts. I am KaijuNoir, and this is another episode of Shuwatch, Super Dynamic Ultra Force Go. And here with me is a very special guest, a friend of mine who I've been trying to get on the show for quite a long time, but he is finally here. Give it up for the one and only Rafael Gonzalez, aka Enshohma.
You lucky people, you. It's like Santa Claus and the Das Boot Captain merged in a transportation device, and that joke got away from me.
So yeah, I'm pretty sure for anyone who goes on DeviantArt quite often and look up some kaiju fan art and whatnot, I'm pretty sure you are familiar to some degree with Enshohma's art. I'm just wondering, do you prefer Enshohma or Raph for the duration of this recording?
Go ahead and call me Raph just to save valuable time.
Valuable time, so I can save an extra half a second on saving from those 2 extra syllables.
Never mind. Let's just go with Enshohma. That's the name everyone knows me online.
All right. So Enshohma, how have you been, man?
I've been doing fairly well. There's always ups and downs when dealing with life, and this podcast has suddenly taken a turn for the depressing. So, but other than that, no, I'm just kidding. I'm doing fairly well, and it's finally nice to be on this podcast. We've been talking about this episode for ages. Unfortunately, I've been constantly dropping the ball on my end as far as technicalities go. But yeah, no, I'm here at a friend's house, and finally this is happening. I'm doing okay, just keeping up on the artwork as usual and colorist jobs, thanks to you including. Mm-hmm. And that's pretty much it at the moment. So without going too much into the darker details of life.
Mm-hmm. Because I guess for the audience, I like to explain this for the audience. Hopefully by the time that this episode goes up on YouTube, you will have already seen the episode with James Bigg and Christopher Martinez, and then another episode with Christopher Martinez and Jonathan Claude. The title cards for those last 2 special guest appearance episodes of Shuwatch were all colored and shaded by Mr. Enshohma right here, and he also did the shading for, or what do you call it, gradient or gradient shading?
Either or, but most artists just call it gradient.
Okay, yeah, because I haven't been familiar with that term until I saw, I heard you started using that phrase. But yeah, he also did the gradient work on the illustrations that you now see on the latest episodes of Kaiju's Corner. So yeah, we have, and also the image that I use as my profile picture on the channel, that is the commission that Enshohma made for me when we met each other in LA back in April, I want to say.
Yes, no, it's I'm very happy you enjoyed that image so much you ran with it. I was actually surprised to see your profile picture switch to it immediately.
Uh-huh. Well, the thing is, I've always been, I've been a fan of your work for quite some time. I want to say it was probably maybe, it was probably in the middle of high school, so maybe 6 or 7 years ago, yeah, that I first encountered this image that featured, I believe it was both Zeton and Sakuna no Oni. I know it was definitely Sakuna no Oni from Ultraman Tiga, and that was the very first image I ever found of yours, and since then I was very captivated by your very stylized, very, I guess you can say, cartoonish, brightly colored art style. And so when I later found out that you were actually, a fan of mine, you were probably one of my earliest fans. I remember your comments on my earlier videos back when I was covering independent kaiju films in the 2000s, and so I was more than ecstatic to finally met you in person when Bill and I went on our road trip to LA.
Yes, thank you so much for arranging that too. It was it's funny too because I'm a big fan of giant monsters, not just kaiju, but giant monsters in general. Mm-hmm. And I especially love the more obscure stuff, the stuff that gets overlooked by the more mainstream fans. Mm-hmm. So when I saw that series you did about all these independently produced kaiju films, I was honestly impressed. And again, great speaking voice, good editing, good reviews. And it's so hard to find good reviews that kind of mix a light humor with actual analysis, because I hate to say it, most reviews on the internet are either, I don't know, they're just basic vlogs or they're just comical rants. But no, I really enjoyed that series. And then when I don't know why, but I just, somewhere in the blue moon, I just contacted you to see if you were anywhere in the Los Angeles area.
Yeah.
And then thankfully we met up at a Denny's. So
Yeah.
not long after.
What was I going to say? Oh yeah, I'm glad, I'm very grateful that you enjoyed that series when I first started out. I definitely, when I wanted to make reviews on YouTube, I definitely wanted to do something that was a lot more analytical than skit based, than like something you would see akin to like Nostalgia Critic or Angry Video Game Nerd. I was definitely inspired a lot by Captain Logan's Superhero Rewind series on his channel of Geekvolution. I'm not sure if you're familiar with Superhero Rewind.
No. I love that series immensely. I came very close to actually donating some Japanese superhero films to him. But again, technicalities got in the way, and I wasn't able to make proper copies. But yeah, no. I really do enjoy that series very much. It was, yeah, again, analytical is, you don't really see that much anymore. Another group on YouTube that I would highly recommend is the Cinemologists, who I've recently become friends with, or at least, how can I say this, non-female, non-sexual groupie? I can say that, right?
I guess so.
Darn it!
I think at this point the fan base has already kind of accepted the Pacific Rim term kaiju groupie.
Oh, well, no. Okay, darn it. Already I've made this podcast awkward beyond comprehension.
No, it's all right, man. It's all right.
Okay.
What was I going to say? Superhero Rewind was a major inspiration. He had definitely, Captain Logan's style of reviews was what definitely inspired the visual style of my reviews that I still continue to use to this very day.
Yeah, no, it works wonderfully, man. And by all means, please keep the videos going. So.
And hopefully, I want to say maybe, let's see, it's the 29th of July, but as the time of this recording, but hopefully I would like to get my Godzilla vs. King Ghidorah review out, and, just getting back into the swing of things. I don't know why it takes me, like, these long breaks in between my scripted reviews. It's just, like, the motivation thing.
Well, the old saying, best laid plans of mice and men, so... life gets in the way, and again, I've just made this podcast all horribly awkward and sad. So.
But let's see. Let's not talk about me. I just want to know.
Let's talk about me and me alone.
Yes, after all, you are the guest of this episode. So for those.
Yes, starts with G, and G also starts with God.
So, would you like to explain who you are to the audience for those of them who are unfamiliar with you and your work?
Thank you very much. Because, all right, I am Enshohma as Andrew. Darn it!
It's Totopoulos. It's Totopoulos.
I'm Enshohma. I'm a kaiju artist, and recently I've become a professional artist doing not only colorist jobs for independent comics, but I've also been doing a lot of title card artwork for several people online, their video series, including some of your recent episodes. But I've really gained fame about 2 years ago doing title card artwork for Brendan Tenold's Cult Movies Reviews, or Brendan's Cult Movies Reviews. And I'm surprised how popular he's getting. Hopefully you can put a link to the YouTube channel, but...
Absolutely, man.
Oh, yeah, thank you. He's, in fact, he recently, earlier this year, he became an inductee into Channel Awesome. Right. Although, to be honest, he's getting more of his views through YouTube and Patreon.
I have seen this sort of pattern before where most people who are associated or were former associates of Channel Awesome have been finding more traffic elsewhere.
Yeah. Well, no. He's one of the brand new inductees.
Oh, okay.
Okay. I'm using that word wrong. Oh, so far this is the worst episode you ever made.
Stop being too hard on yourself, man.
Okay. So, all right. That's probably for the better. I was about to break my leg for you. Literally. So, the funny thing is, oh man, Where was I?
You were talking about Brandon.
Right. I've been doing title card artwork for Brendan's cult movie reviews, and that's gotten a lot of major notices recently. So I've kind of grown a fan base through him,
Mm-hmm.
and he in turn says that without my title cards, he probably wouldn't have gotten even more viewers than he already has. Although it's still funny that every once in a while, everyone thinks Enshohma and Brendan
Are
is
the
the
same
same
person?
person. Yeah, yeah. So I get a lot of emails, oh, can you please post your videos on my site? While he gets a lot of emails asking for art commissions.
Yeah.
So
Aw.
yeah,
Well, luckily he does credit you in every episode that features your work.
oh, definitely, definitely. I think the word's coming out that we are two separate people. We are not two heads on the singular beast, which is Jan and Jace.
Or this isn't some like Bruce Banner Hulk situation, is it?
Oh yeah, when Brendan Tenold finishes a video review, he turns into a giant gray Hispanic man and does artwork for his title cards. So
Shoma, draw.
exactly, you wanna like me when I'm creative. See, I can actually do a good joke. So this podcast is saved.
Whew.
Now on to my controversial political views about women. So,
Ooh. Time to get controversial. And you know what
indeed.
that
So,
means? Controversial equals more views.
I don't like Cocoa Puffs.
You bastard.
I know. Okay. So, anyways, and thanks to Brendan Tenold, I started doing title card artwork for another video reviewer, Ralph Bear, and his Stupid Moose reviews,
Mhm.
which is kind of like limited animation comedy, cartoon animal characters reviewing various films, mostly animation.
Mhm.
And that's starting to pick up. In fact, I'm a big supporter of his, and we've known each other for a while, perhaps longer than Brendan, off DeviantArt. And I've also started doing title card artwork, mostly colorist stuff, for you. And in addition to that, I'm doing some independent comics as well.
Mhm.
So, and that's that's pretty much that's pretty much as far as the current stuff going on. In the near future, however, Enshohma, hopes to start my own web comics as well as actual published comics. And I've been talking to several other friends about this, among them Berkion, who used to be one of the podcasters on Podcasters with Attitude. Unfortunately, that series seems to be on hiatus at the moment. And we really are hoping to get some of our own series. In fact, we have one graphic novel planned as well as a full-fledged series that we hope to shop out to some of the actual comic companies that are not named DC or Marvel, because you know how hard it is to get a foot in with those people.
Right, especially when they're trying to rely on their brand name heroes that they've had for decades at this point.
Yeah, and not only that, but I'm more of a stylish cartoonist than a realistic drawer of superheroes.
It's just like,
So
have you ever had experience with more realistically proportioned characters?
I have, but I don't know. It just never went anywhere. And not only that, but when you do realistic characters, it just kind of I don't know. Well, I'll just say this: I've tried getting into the business before, and I had some less than pleasant experiences.
Hmm.
But I'm not going to get into too much detail about it. Just know that there were guns involved, sword stabbing, and a pirate ship, and some plutonium that I got from the whoever those guys' names were from the Back to the Future movies. I'm joking. I'm kidding.
Then you went on an adventure. Your future mother actually accidentally fell in love with you, which made things very awkward. You
Yeah,
punched out your dad's bully.
yeah, and then there was a Universal ride with a really badass looking puppet dinosaur, and somebody stole my bike, and I had to go to Hollywood. But then the Takanomi building got captured by terrorists, and not just any terrorists, but German terrorists. Oh my goodness. Okay, so getting back to Jesse.
That needs to actually be a movie, just like all these Universal movies just combined to one.
Right, exactly. So me and Burke, well, getting back to your question, yes, I did try to do realistic figures for a while, but it just didn't go anywhere because everyone else does realistic figures,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like I don't know. What would be a good example? It just got lost in the minutia of
Hmm.
mainstream comic book people, and not only that, but a lot of people. You know,
Hmm.
I don't know. How can I say this with not sounding too harsh? I tried working with people who are in the industry,
Hmm.
but a lot of them have. I'm not going to name names because that's the least I can do.
Hmm.
They have really terrible egos.
Hmm.
So much so that you go to certain creative meetings at several comic shops, and it ends up being just kind of a unproductive, for lack of a better term, whizzing contest.
Hmm.
And I don't know. It's just at that point I just got fed up, and I decided just to do my own thing.
Hmm.
So I remained being a cartoonist, focusing on kind of a mix between comedy and dark violence. Um, I don't know. Now I'm just slipping here. How do I explain the Enshohma method?
Well, I guess we can
Oh,
start with what were some of your biggest influences that led to your current art style that you have now been known for.
now that's a good question, dear sir. Um, booze, babes, boobs, babes, and booze. No, no, no. As a young kid, uh, I have always been interested by, believe it or not, less so animation than live action fantasy films.
Hmm.
And I was born in the 80s, so of course I had access to things like Ghostbusters and Tron and Dark Crystal. But oddly enough, when I was 9 years old, I started to actually get and understand the movies in detail. And of course, when I was 9 years old, that's when I first discovered Godzilla films.
Hmm.
And and to be honest, yes, Godzilla films of the 1960s, despite being very good in their own right, didn't have the same kind of special effects quality or high budgets as many of the films of the 80s did.
Hmm.
But my first Godzilla movie was Godzilla versus the Thing, better known as Mothra versus Godzilla 1964. And that movie just blew me away as a kid. Because everything I saw in Saturday morning cartoon shows that were barely touched upon in the big budget live action fantasy films of Hollywood was happening throughout the entire movie of Godzilla versus Mothra or Godzilla versus the Thing.
Hmm.
Um, it's like a good example is okay, Ghostbusters, great movie, but the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man barely shows up in it for less than 8 minutes, maybe 5 minutes, and then when you discover the behind the scenes story about how they almost completely cut out the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man at the last minute because they were afraid audiences were going to laugh,
Hmm.
it's kind of disheartening a bit. And then you watch something like Godzilla versus the Thing, where it's literally a giant dinosaur attacking a city in broad daylight throughout the majority of the movie. There's, a mystical island with fairies and natives and a moth goddess. And not only that, but the special effects were, even though back then I knew it was a guy in a suit,
Hmm.
it was still very impressive they were able to get away with just sheer fantasy on the screen. And this wasn't like, okay, I love Tron, I love Return of Oz, I love many of the fantasy films from the 80s,
Hmm.
but there always was that kind of apprehension. Like, the world of the other world could not merge with the real world. So
Hmm.
much so that often these stories would take place in a fantasy world, and even counterproductively, the heroes would refer to Earth as the real world, almost insultingly to whatever dimension they happen to be visiting.
I never
You
thought
know,
about that till now, but
yeah,
you're
yeah,
absolutely right. And looking at the Godzilla series, where whenever these fantastical occurrences happen, they occur within the real world in this universe.
exactly, exactly. And it's hilarious too because you still see this happen in a lot of American fiction. I swear there's still movies being made today where our heroes go to an alien planet that's just as real as Earth, and yet they still refer it as a fantasy land, and they need to get back to the quote unquote real world.
Hmm.
Here was a Japanese monster movie that was doing things that I never saw in an American movie,
Hmm.
especially a recent one. It's like a giant monster is attacking the world, and they call upon a magical giant monster to combat that character alongside the military efforts. Science, magic, the prehistoric, the modern, all merged into a single world.
Hmm.
And I was very fortunate because our local Channel 13, KTLA, I believe it's KTLA, but I might be mistaken about the exact station number. They had a Godzilla marathon on New Year's Day 1990. So not only was I exposed to Godzilla versus the Thing, I had Godzilla versus Monster Zero, War of the Gargantuas, Godzilla's Revenge, Terra Mechagodzilla, Rodan, and the original 1954 Godzilla. It was a crash course in giant monster movies, and man, did it really open my eyes. And then thankfully this was the era when cable television would air, and local stations would air movies whenever they could.
Mm-hmm.
So thankfully I was allowed to stay up at night.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes even on a school night. Of course, the deal was that I'd sleep for the majority of the evening, and then wake up around 2 a.m. to catch movies late at night.
Uh-huh.
And thankfully, this was the era of TNT's Monster Vision as well as TNT's Friday night lineup of 100% Weird, and TBS was showing monster movies, and Channel 5 had this wonderful, almost nightly double feature, Movies Till Dawn. It was a great time to be alive because I revisited all these monster movies from the 50s and the 40s and the 60s and the 70s, and even knowing that, again, they weren't as technically impressive as the movies of the 1980s, they had a certain fantasy bravado that you don't see often. Even in the big budget movies today, you don't see often.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the things that people like George Pal and E.G. Tubray and Ray Harryhausen were doing are way more impressive than, at least in my opinion, than a lot of what today's Hollywood auteurs of fantasy are trying to do. Now, there are exceptions to the rule, of course. Guillermo del Toro or Brad Bird when he's not doing Tomorrowland.
Tomorrowland definitely. I haven't seen Tomorrowland, but judging from everybody's reviews, it seems like it has the exact same problem that you were just talking about right now in terms of having this large, what do you call it, separation between the fantastical and the realistic.
Well, it kind of handles it better with the whole alternate dimension thing. Mm-hmm. Here's the thing. I'm pretty savvy when it comes to movie reviews. Mm-hmm. So I have a good idea what I'm getting myself into when I do go to the movie theaters.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is, the best reviewer of movies that I trust the most is my own brother, Gabe.
Mm-hmm.
And when it takes very little to anger him about a movie. So when he went to a whole rant about Tomorrowland, that's kind of the recurring gag these days. It's like, hey, Gabe, how's Tomorrowland? So, but no. Brad Bird, despite Tomorrowland, he's done great stuff with his animated fares, and even his one live-action Mission Impossible movie was actually pretty impressive from a series that was kind of losing steam a bit.
Let's see, did he do John Carter?
No, that's the guy who did Finding Nemo.
Okay, the other Pixar guy.
Yeah. No, there are some fantasy auteurs that are living today. Guillermo del Toro, Brad Bird. Oh man, he was right on the tip of my tongue. Oh man, who was it? Oh, I guess Peter Jackson to an extent. Oh man,
what movie did he make that the person you're thinking of?
My brain is completely drawing a blank right now, unfortunately. Oh, well, if he comes to me, I'll remember it. But,
okay.
Yeah, but still, a lot of the movies today feel like they're... Oh, Edgar Wright.
Oh, him, yeah, totally.
Yeah, the Cornetto trilogy, thank you, and Scott Pilgrim Conquers the World. I'd love to see the guy actually tackle another big-budget fantasy film. Unfortunately, the whole Ant-Man situation and whatever. But
from what I've understood, from what my friend Bill has told me, the majority of that original script that Edgar Wright wrote was pretty much, like 90% of that script made it to the final film. So that was kind of like they heavily relied on his work before he left the director's chair.
Yeah, but I get the feeling that they didn't want to offend the audience with too stylistic a film, so I think maybe that's the main reason he got fired, which is, I don't know. I have mixed feelings about the Marvel movies, but anyways, getting back to my inspirations, because now I'm getting to a tangent. all these wonderful movies from the past, Wizard
Right.
of Oz, George Pal's The Time Machine, the works of Ray Harryhausen, Disney at his best, both live action and animated.
Hmm.
Um, oh God, it's the Gamera movies. Even though I'm starting to realize the Showa era Gamera movies aren't that good.
No. Well, what's funny?
um,
What's a funny thing is like this is something I learned during my time at G Fest this year, where it was obviously a big celebration for Gamera's 50th anniversary because Lord knows the people in Japan certainly are. The studio Kadokawa isn't going to do anything about him, but
oh yeah,
listening to
yeah.
other people, especially from the older audience members, and especially the older people who contributed in some ways to G-Fest. They were sharing all their Gamera memories, be it
hmm
Kyle from Kaiju Cast or August Ragone. Um, they were all sharing their memories and their nostalgia for Gamera. And I noticed that I feel like the older generations have a lot more love for the Showa Gamera films as opposed to the younger, more objective generations. And I guess it's probably because
Yeah,
they grew up with that stuff, like, and had those memories as a child, ever since they saw it on television, be it MST3K or Monster Vision or whatnot.
yeah. I want to. I try my best to give the younger generations credit, but the mainstream audiences today,
Hmm.
they definitely don't revisit a lot of the movies of the past.
Hmm.
And they are terribly objective, you are right, to such an extent that it's impossible to show them good movies from the past just because they happen to be made in the past. Like, for example, one of the movies I was going to mention that I grew up with, especially with my brothers, were the Universal Monster movies.
Hmm.
Those are fantastic because they're a great mix between the horror and the gothic, but some of the movies do a great job having these really intelligent, funny scripts. Bride of Frankenstein, The Invisible Man. You just have to watch. Those two movies are hilarious, despite the rather grim subject matter
Hmm.
happening on screen. And but it's a shame that you can't show those movies to most modern audiences because they're black and white and they're from the 30s. So instantly it's like trying to introduce.
Hmm. I guess
Um,
it's kind of hard for them to relate to these characters who are living in such a wildly or these type of characters that exist in a wildly different form of entertainment where it's like the acting, the makeup effects, the cinematography, it's all very different from what they are surrounded with nowadays.
yeah, well, not just that, but also just a unfortunate bias or prejudice against. It's like people who go to other countries instead of trying the local delicacies,
Hmm.
even if the delicacies are just things as normal as steamed vegetables and chicken, they instead
Hmm.
go out of their way to go find a McDonald's.
Yeah.
It's sort of the movie equivalent of that because it's really hard to share these older gems. And
Hmm.
there's so many good movies that are just overlooked. But then again, I seem to be enjoying movies more based on
Hmm.
entertainment value and pacing.
Hmm.
For example, I've given up on primetime television in general because it's just padding and meaningless slowness, and that's a whole other rant we'll get into later if we
Uh-huh.
get into it. But there's so many good movies out there, and there's still good movies being made today. But it's a shame a lot of people won't give them the time of day. Even some of the best fantasy films of the 1980s are
Yeah.
kind of slowly getting ignored, unless
Yeah.
it.
Because I remember, like, I would talk to my cousins. My cousins are probably, at this point, they are getting into either in middle school or just getting into high school. And whenever I would ask them what's the oldest movie, or whenever I talk to them about movies without getting too in depth, because I know they're not movie people like me,
Uh huh.
um, to them, I noticed that to them, any movie that was made before the 2000s, before the 21st century,
Boy.
that is considered old to them. In
Oh
fact,
my
they would
goodness.
think like a movie from 2003 or 2002 would be considered old for them because, okay, yes, it's 10 years old, so 10 years is a lot of time, but to them, it's like anything past like the 90s even would be like ancient history to them.
Oh my goodness. Oh Lord. I hate to say it's that no offense to your nephews or cousins.
Cousins.
Yeah, no offense to your cousins at all. They're probably decent people who And if they're your cousins, I'm guessing they would definitely give a older movie a chance, unless you have some horror stories to share.
Let's see.
Um,
I have given them. I have give. They love horror films. I don't know what is it with like the majority of people I know here who are family members or like family friends. They all love their horror films. I have no idea why, and it's always like the modern day jump scare horror film. So a couple years ago, I did try showing them a couple of like some classics like John Carpenter's The Thing or Evil Dead 2. Just like random wild stuff out there, wild out there stuff, and they would always appreciate it.
okay, good. Yeah, as I'm a big fan of classic John Carpenter. Man, did he make
Yeah.
some amazing movies in the 70s and 80s, and those were a big inspiration onto me too, especially Big Trouble in Little China. It's like,
I finally got the chance to watch it like 2 months ago, and I love the hell out of it.
it's now that's how you do a fantasy comedy. It's like it's and oh my God, it works on so many levels. Even the lead character, who I know the big joke is he's not the hero of the story. He's more the bumbling sidekick.
Uh-huh.
But he doesn't know that. And yet he's still competent. He's still there helping our heroes. He still gets a couple of wins here or there. And there's so many movies so many badly written action movies that just go for the most simplistic denominator. It's like, oh, it's the sidekick character, so of course he has to screw up all the time. And that's not clever. That's boring and annoying.
Hmm.
But no, I'm a huge fan of John Carpenter, and his version of The Thing is possibly one of the best monster movies ever made. Especially how wonderfully darkly humorous it is. It's like between that and Big Trouble in Little China. It's my heart's a fluttered.
So,
And
inspirations.
yeah, see? This is what happens when you ask Enshohma onto a podcast. Tangents! Tangents to the right of us. Tangents to the left of us. And now I shall get into a long rant about why tangents are a bad thing. I think it started...
But not before I complain and bitch and moan about Ultraman Tiga.
We'll get to that eventually. I knew you were going to spring that up. It's like... Okay, but first,
I just want to let you know, for the record, I have no issue with you not liking a show that I happen to like.
Try telling that to the rest of the kaiju fandom and some of my DeviantArt watchers.
Like, what the fuck? This is my childhood. Why would you have a different opinion from mine?
Just for the record, ladies and gentlemen, I did a vlog recently where I took a couple of questions from my DeviantArt subscribers. And I dropped the bombshell that I am not the biggest fan of Ultraman Tiga, despite the show, being somewhat well-loved amongst kaiju fans. And I'll go into detail about that later, or not. But,
inspirations.
Yeah,
Sorry,
inspirations.
just.
Thank you. But first, on to tangents. I think the first example of bad history of tangents happened with the 1980 ska band Madness, when they were scaling Mount Everest in 1973, which is an oxymoron. Okay, anyways, inspirations.
I was like, what is this? How far is he going to
go? Sometimes you have to stop me, okay? Especially since I'm a much better writer of comedy than I am of improv. So please keep that in mind for the remainder of this podcast. But anyways, inspirations. So creatively, story-wise, character-wise, the movies of the past, the science fiction films of the 80s, the 70s, and the 60s especially, were a big influence on me. Mm-hmm. And a lot of my top favorite films came from those eras. Jason and the Argonauts, almost every Godzilla movie made in the 60s, mm-hmm. The early works of John Carpenter, especially The Thing and Big Trouble in Little China, the stuff Jim Henson was doing, Dark Crystals, The Great Muppet Caper, the Hammer films, especially the ones that had a less focus on horror than just kind of dark fantasy, especially the overlooked Christopher Lee movie, The Devil Rides In, or The Devil Bride. That's a fantastic movie. The Godzilla movies from the 60s, the Doug McClure adventure films with all the dinosaurs and monsters. So many great movies that inspired me, even some oddball ones like Phantom of the Paradise, Message from Space. That's a whole tangent on its own right. Even the original Star Wars trilogy was pretty good in that regard. And Tron, of course. Oh my goodness, Tron. It's that movie still holds up as far as I'm concerned. At least visually, I know the story offends a lot of people.
Mhm.
And unlike most people, I'm a fan of both the original Wizard of Oz as well as the 1980s Return of Oz. I think both of them are equally good movies.
Mhm.
So all those, as far as characters and creativity wise, and my love of monsters who also happen to be characters, came from this wide variety, this wide minutia of movies. But as far as style goes, artistic style, that's a oddball mix of classic cartoons from the likes of Chuck Jones and Tex Avery, and a lot of anime that me and my brothers were exposed to thanks to Blockbuster Video when it was in its heyday in the early 90s.
Mhm.
Not to say all anime was created equal. For every clever Project A-ko, there was like 100 terrible titles of crap I don't even remember.
Mhm.
But and it, I don't know. Those were a big inspiration on me, influence-wise, because
Mhm.
for a while I tried doing more realistic-looking artwork,
Mhm.
and okay, so yeah, stylistically, a lot of the Chuck Jones and Tex Avery and anime from the '80s were big inspirations, and then of course there was Batman the Animated Series, which was a revelation during that era. Uh, and then the ultimate, believe it or not, the ultimate nail in the Enshohma coffin, so you will, that forever ruined me as far as a functioning human being slash nerd.
Mhm.
The monsters of Power Rangers.
Hey man, I'm not blaming you. I love Power Rangers.
Yes, but there's not that many fanboys who, their mouths water every week to see what the new monster is going to be. And it's a funny thing, too, because the monsters of Power Rangers, or sometimes Kaijin, which means monster person in Japan,
Like a
they're,
humanoid shaped monster that can talk.
yeah, something like that. More, yeah, it's a lot of the villains in Kamen Rider go under this category.
Mhm.
But no, the funny thing about them was they were a hell of a lot of fun. And back then they were a big influence. Like, oh, you can have these really wacky looking non-human characters be as personality filled as human characters, because I hate to admit it, I like Power Rangers, but many of those seasons,
Mhm.
clearly the voice actors playing these forgettable monsters of the week were killing it acting wise as opposed to the human actors. And no offense to those individuals whatsoever. I've
Mhm.
gone to Power Morphicon several times.
Mhm.
They're among the nicest people imaginable.
Mhm. Oh yeah, I
It's
like I think it was last no, I think it was in 2012 at Comic Con. I met Walter Emmanuel Jones, who played Zack, the original Black Ranger, and he was an incredibly nice person to talk to.
he's a doll. It's like that's just a wonderful man right there.
Oh yeah, I remember I saw a picture. I'm not sure if it was Facebook or DeviantArt that you shared an image with you and Mr. Jones with a portrait of yours of the mammoth.
Yeah, no, I forgot if that was WonderCon or AM2Con, which was an unsuccessful anime convention. But he was there. He passed by the booth recently, said hello to everybody, checked out our
Mhm.
stuff.
Well, that was nice of
Even
him.
yeah, and then like he came by every once in a while just to say hello and have little brief conversations with us. And he's a very nice man. So nice, in fact, I feel horrible about what I just said about the monster voice actors being better than the regular cast. But
Wait, hold
no,
on. Wasn't Bryan Cranston one of those voice actors for the monsters?
that's a horrible, vicious rumor created by fans of Breaking Bad. How dare you? The story behind that horrible rumor started with the band They Might Be Giants when they piloted a submarine to discover the Architeuthis, also known as the giant squid, back in 1992. Now, unfortunately, this expedition was funded by
Error, cannot compute.
yeah, you just yeah. I'm surprised you didn't stop me there. So
No, it's like, no, I want to know where this is going.
yeah, and as
How
you
mu-
know,
just how much can Enshoma bullshit?
oh, now you're making this podcast even worse. I'm going to add my own foul word. Poopy. So, but
Just how far does his rabbit hole go?
Yeah, this. I should also mention Alice in Wonderland was a big influence on me.
Mm-hmm.
So it's so much so that I'll watch almost any adaptation of it, even if a lot of them aren't very good.
So,
Um,
Power Ranger monsters.
yes, they were a big influence. They kind of, in fact, if you look at a lot of my original creations, and you can see that there's a big influence of them, even on the so-called hero characters. And I make no bones about it, if that's the correct terminology. But I love those monsters with a vengeance, so much so that even when a Power Ranger season just sucks, I still want to see what kind of neat, offbeat, interesting creature design and possible character and voice actor they throw with it.
Mm-hmm.
I could go on forever about the monsters of Power Rangers. Like, it's like that's probably a podcast episode in its own right. But no, they were a big inspiration on my characters. Unfortunately, the backlash to that is a lot of people look at my characters and they can't tell the difference between the heroes and the villains half the time.
Oh, because you all give all of your characters like these intricate designs, where where it's like there's no clear I guess you can, if you look at
they're all monster people.
Yeah, they're all monster people. Yeah, yeah. Where if you, as opposed to the likes of Ultraman, Kamen Rider, or Super Sentai, it's like the heroes are clearly the more humanoid-looking ones in comparison to their foes.
Yeah. I think a good comparison for those who have no idea what Power Ranger monsters work out outside than just being stupid Godzilla ripoffs. It's like the Dark Crystal or Return of Oz, like or better yet, Nightmare Before Christmas. Like even the nicest, most heartfelt and soulful characters of those various films are ugly as sin or terrifying looking. That's what I love about Nightmare Before Christmas. Another big influence on me.
I love that film.
Yeah, the people of Halloween Town are some of the nicest people imaginable. But they also rip their faces off. They're vampires. Yeah, they're Frankensteins.
That's our job, but we're not mean in our town of Halloween.
Yes, with this, it's like the hat monster, man. He's my favorite. It's like he looks like a demented porcupine clown creature thing, and yet he's so flamboyant and happy about his creative making a hat out of this old dead rat or something.
Oh yeah.
But for the record, everybody, I am not going to sing. My improv skills are so horrible, I am not going to sing. So, oh my goodness. So,
well, what the heck? You shall do your best.
No,
I forgot the rest of the lyrics to that.
Error, failure. The Andra system has not worked.
Reboot required.
Yes, exactly. So. That was a weird show. But no. Just I guess I'm like Guillermo del Toro in that regards. I love monsters. I love offbeat humor. I love character-based adventure comedy. And again, when my life gets over its current hurdles and I'm able to finally focus upon my comic projects, I definitely want to give back to the world and show people, what I can do as a storyteller. And I got so many ideas coming down the pipe works. If you guys don't see anything coming down by the end of the year, know that there's going to be something major happening next year. So, but monsters, they're awesome.
Yeah.
So now as far as oddly enough, outside fantasy films and monster movies, my last major inspiration. Well, actually, there's a fourth inspiration. We'll get to that at the end because I want to. Would have to be comedy, especially very satirical, very intelligently silly stuff. Monty Python, the Marx Brothers, the Three Stooges, Laurel and Hardy.
Mel Brooks.
Yes, Mel Brooks too. We'll throw him in there. Why not? We'll give that guy a bone. So. Some of the better written anime comedies, although I hate to say it, they're kind of few and far between.
Yeah, like when it comes to anime comedies, I mean, at least from the ones that I've been exposed to, it's often been very hit or miss with me because it seems like I don't know. I get the idea that when to a Japanese audience, comedy involves like the most outrageous, over the top physical and vocal performances.
Yeah, yeah, and it's really hard to find an anime that kind of does a very good balance of like the slapstick and it's like I think the best way to describe it. I don't know. It's like the Three Stooges. When you watch those shorts, there's actually a lot of really intelligent satirical stuff going on as both the subtext underneath all the slapstick. It's like, for crying out loud, as far as I'm concerned, it's not the eye gouging that's their trademark. It's pinkies up. It's like that old gag. As long as you have your pinkies up, you can look sophisticated no matter what horrible thing you commit. So.
Yeah, I think maybe the funniest animes I've probably seen in recent memory are probably Gurren Lagann and Chibi Gara Go Nagai World. And Go Nagai World was mostly based off of its witty writing and relying on its audience knowing who these characters are that they're making fun of.
Yeah. It's like, and not only that, but it's like some of the anime comedies I like are either greatly overlooked, like Die Guard, or
I still gotta check that out.
I recommend it. It's actually it's nothing too spectacular, but it's very well done.
That's the one with the red and black robot, right?
Wow, you really narrowed it down right there. Anime, too much robots.
No. Fuck you. You can never have enough giant robots.
I would agree with you, but it's still a wonderful joke to poke fun at. So.
And yes, it is the red and black robot I was thinking of.
Yeah, well, it's red, black, yellow, and a little bit of white. So, right. But yeah, no. I'm a big fan of Die Guard. But Patlabor, I think, is probably a better series because that was a little more sophisticated anime comedy along with the giant robots.
Now that I really want to get into because I've seen the first Patlabor movie. And I really got interested in it, even though it didn't really go in depth with its characters. The basic premise for this world, where it's basically you're following a group of cops, where instead of driving police cars, they're piloting giant robots, and I think that's a fucking genius concept or premise right there. And
yeah, so, what really makes it work, and I'm sorry to interrupt you there. Is that it's also done fairly realistically too. This isn't like a Sailor Victory where it's a wacky alternate world where it's cartoon antics and they happen to be giant robots piloted by cops. And no, this is a world where these giant robots are portrayed realistically. They're just like normal vehicles. They just happen to be humanoid robots that do certain tasks that you can't do with other vehicles.
Right.
That's why
it's kind of it's like a prime example of the real robot genre, which attempts to portray robots in a more believable fashion as opposed to the classic super robots of the 70s.
Yeah. Oh yeah, totally agreed. Even if ironically Patlabor loved its kaiju. That's another thing about Patlabor you're gonna love. Every once in a while they fight actual giant monsters. I won't spoil too much, but the third episode of the OVA series, which means original video anime for those of you playing at home. Yeah, it's a subtle homage to the Godzilla films of the 60s.
Nice.
So yeah, and that's not counting things like the albino alligators that are recurring guest stars throughout the franchise, or just a straight monster movie like Wasted 13, which was probably the darkest of the Patlabor movies, relatively speaking. And of course, the recent live-action Patlabor movies at least had a couple of kaiju influences in there, and that's not even counting the episodes with the unmanned robots. So. Yeah, no, Patlabor was a really good series. And getting back to the comedy as influence.
Yeah.
Me and my brothers were very fortunate to be living at the time when Nick at Night actually aired a lot of the classic sitcoms of the day. So
I remember those. I would watch them a lot, especially earlier. Probably in the early 2000s, I would watch those programs with my parents, and they would help me explain whatever references that flew over my head.
Yeah, but at the same time, even with that said, a lot of these shows are still great. Dick Van Dyke, oh my God, the Dick Van Dyke Show, that is just heavenly. And then of course, I Love Lucy is still a classic because anybody who says women aren't funny should be bludgeoned to death by an I Love Lucy DVD case.
Especially when especially when Lucy Ball pretty much defined what sitcom comedy was and how to properly run the syndicated business.
Oh yeah, oh definitely, definitely.
Because
And
like back then, no one ever thought about re-airing a show that you had previously aired before. But because she and her husband purchased the rights to you know the exclusive rights to their own series, they were smart enough and to plan ahead and actually strike a deal with whatever channel that was going to be airing those shows. But they once the show was over, they made the right connections, and they've been running that show continuously on, and let the money keep pouring in.
so you were to tell me that all these syndicated sitcoms that keep playing daily over and over again is Lucy's fault?
I suppose so.
Lucy, Miss McKillicuddy, you have a lot of explaining to do.
What did I tell you about being on the show?
So I was trying to do Mr. Mooney, and you went with Rick Ricardo. So
Yeah, I figured it was the logical option.
yeah, exactly. Other
which
shows
which is funny enough because I can't do Ironically, despite being a full-blooded Mexican, I can't do a proper Spanish accent for shit.
Oh, that's okay. I'm a 200-year-old Chinese immortal, and I don't know how to drive a car.
Well, at least you are adhering to your own stereotypes, my friend.
Yes. Oh, darn it. I meant that not to be a stereotype. My improv skills betray me again. So.
See, I feel like I'm like the exact opposite in every way from what you would expect from a typical Mexican, except the laziness part. That I fully embrace.
I love my siestas.
Yeah.
No. The truth is I get stressed out easily, and I have to take stress naps every 4 hours.
I can't handle this.
Exactly. Enshohma, he'll sleep anywhere. Except the ground, it hurts. So, but no, I was very fortunate growing up at that time, and not only that, but also the Bob Newhart Show, Mary Tyler Moore, and a lesser known television comedian that's only now kind of recently getting rediscovered a little bit. Ernie Kovacs, and if you don't know who he is, definitely check him out. I highly recommend it.
Okay.
Let's just say Ernie Kovacs is sort of the American predecessor to things like Kids in the Hall or Monty Python, and he was doing this stuff back in the 50s. Unfortunately, because of his very bizarre and offbeat humor, it kind of flew over the heads of the live studio audiences. So, but yeah, a lot of influences with those older television shows, and two other major influences in that regard would include The Outer Limits or The Twilight Zone.
Yeah.
And especially, like, I love both shows equally, but I can definitely see why people kind of prefer The Twilight Zone a little more over The Outer Limits, even though that both shows have their incredible strengths and also equal weaknesses. But those shows were a big inspiration on me, and of course Monty Python, Marx Brothers, a lot of the great standalone comedies from the 60s and 70s. It's a Mad, 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 Mad World, The Great Race, The In-Laws. Oh man, what other ones? I guess you could also throw in a lot of the fantasy movies I talked recently about. Big Trouble in Little China, Phantom of the Paradise,
Labyrinth.
Labyrinth too. We'll throw that into the stew. It was written by I believe it was Terry Jones. So yeah, it was definitely a lot of Monty Python influence there. Douglas Adams. I got to give it up to Douglas Adams. Like me and my youngest brother Gabe, we grew up on the novel, the radio play, and especially the books on tapes read by Douglas Adams himself. He's a big inspiration. I love the guy. Oh my god, just comedy in general was like a big eye-opener there. And last but not least, my biggest inspiration, and this goes back to the fact that I am a man, women. I hate to say it. It's like if you look at my artwork, and I don't know if you're going to be, if you look at my artwork, I think Matt Frank, the famous professional Godzilla artist, said it best. It's like his cleavage is earth-shattering. That was his review of some of my female characters. So I'm sorry. It's like I like to think myself as the Benny Hill of kaiju fandoms.
Yeah, the unabashed lover of the female form.
Exactly.
And
I
as
named
a fellow heterosexual male, I cannot blame you at all.
Oh, Ellison Hayes, what did you do to me?
Although I would have to say, if I had any shred of artistic talent, I'd probably be doing what you do and just draw kaiju and women all the time. Although I probably wouldn't be sharing it with anyone. I'd be like,
Oh god. Thankfully, I have some really good editors and friends who tell me
yeah.
when I'm going too far in that regards.
Uh-huh.
Like getting back to Twilight Zone, I came very close to doing a series called the Babes of the Twilight Zone because
Uh-huh.
let's face it, a lot of the actresses who showed up on that show were drop dead gorgeous, and they still are. It's but then again, it's like it's a little inappropriate to do a sexy picture based on the Twilight Zone episode, The Midnight Sun, because it's like, I hate to say it, the lead character in that was probably one of my earliest childhood crushes, so much so that I totally forgot the fact that she's slowly being burned to death by the approaching sun. It was only then that I realized, yeah, this is a bad idea for a series.
I thought it's gonna get to the point where your brothers are be like, Rafa, you know that her breasts are not that large, right? You're gonna have to shrink them. Never.
No.
You're gonna be Emperor Palpatine, like no.
D cups for everybody. No. Again, a lot of the actresses on Twilight Zone, oh my goodness. As a young kid, it's like, I'm starting to feel something. But yeah, no, a lot of the actresses who guest starred on the Twilight Zone were just gorgeous, I can't, especially Julie Newmar. It's like, I think my love of demon women has to do with that one episode where she showed up as the devil, or Miss Devlin. It's like, get it? Miss Devlin? It's a pun! Zing!
Aren't we clever?
Yes, indeed.
Said the writers as they're snorting their coke and counting their money.
Yeah, putting soda up your nose, by the way, really hurts. It's a pun! Get it? Zing! Oh, God.
If you weren't the guest, I would tell you to go in the corner.
It's not my fault nobody likes puns, especially unclever ones. Now, if you excuse me, I'm going to grab...
I don't think they're very punny to begin with.
Well, I'm going to go... Excuse me, but I'm going to go out and grab a pair of ghosts and wear them on my feet. Get it? Souls!
Oh. I had to think for that one.
Yeah, it's not a good pun. I'm sorry. Now I feel bad. Already, everyone's listening to this has just turned their computers off. It's like, okay, not sending money to this guy's Patreon.
In fact, it's the Shuwatch series finale now. I don't want to continue with life anymore.
Yeah, it's like, oh my goodness.
Excuse me, I need to jump out the window and perform the Wilhelm scream.
Bye, Andres. It was nice knowing you. Next week, Zanzibar is going to jump over a shark in Hawaii. Now, getting back to comedy before we talk about my love of the ladies. I forgot to totally mention that even though there was a lot of classic comedy that inspired me, there was a lot of classic contemporary comedy. And the best examples of that would be The Simpsons, especially in its heyday. Mystery Science Theater, which still holds up.
Definitely. And those guys still today with riff tracks, you can tell they still have not lost their touch at all.
True, although when there was the show itself in its like golden era, that I like riff tracks. I like riff tracks a lot, but it kind of is a slight shadow to what Mystery Science Theater was when it was firing on all cylinders. And also Married with Children. I forgot how big of an influence that show was on me until I rewatched it recently, and I forgot how wonderfully cartoony and clever it was. So much so that when it got to the episode where Al Bundy's socks ends up saving an alien civilization, you just roll with it easily. It's not a jumping the shark moment because the show's always been that silly. And the last major comedy influence back then, Penn and Teller. I don't know why, but Penn and Teller used to show up all the time on local cable television, especially that month when they hosted like 4 Monster Vision marathons. And now I'm even knowing I haven't really seen their magic acts, I'm just a fan of just the comedy aspects of those guys. And even today, I as much as I love fantasy films, comedy just makes it all the better. To be honest, I think one of the when we were growing up, I think the film that really cemented the fact that you can do really outrageous comedy with outrageous fantasy and do it in a very intelligent guise is Army of Darkness. And it's funny, too, because me and my brothers, when we first saw that movie, it's like, you can actually do that in a movie? Oh, my goodness.
You know why? Because he's Sam fucking Raimi.
Exactly. So, yeah, it's just the slapstick and the high fantasy and just the bravado of that movie. I know a lot of people think Army of Darkness is not a good movie, especially compared to Evil Dead 2. And yes, Evil Dead 2 is technically the superior movie, story-wise, acting-wise, effects-wise, and all. But Army of Darkness it's just a movie that's hard not to love, and that was a big influence. So much so that me and my brothers, it was because of that movie, me and my brothers actually got a camera and started doing short films. Unfortunately, and even used a lot of the techniques that Sam Raimi and his friends used on a lot of those movies. We couldn't afford a Steadicam or a tripod, so we just got a block of dependable wood, the right screw to put in the middle of it, and bada bing, instant Steadicam. Of course, they had 2 people holding a large board of wood with the camera. We had a smaller board of wood that we just held that the cameraman could just hold with both his hands. And unfortunately, we haven't done films in a while, although for a brief period a couple years ago, my brother Miguel had a series called Understanding the Cosmos. And that's mostly all written by him, although some of my contributions do show in several episodes.
Yeah.
And that's... Me and my brothers desperately want to get back and do a lot more comedy bits like that, as well as probably do my own reviews, although I don't know if I want to go about analytically like you, my dear sir, or if I want to do something just outright silly, like Phaelus in his golden era. So, actually, Phaelus is still funny, but it's like, oh my goodness, his review for Troll 3, aka the one with the mutant plants that have absolutely nothing to do with trolls. I swear, I almost died laughing from the ending sketch of that episode. So, but the comedy was a major influence. Fantasy films were a major influence. Animation and anime were a major influence, and my love of the ladies. So,
yes.
I blame you, Princess Dragon Mom.
I don't know why, but I'm picturing that one scene from the Blues Brothers where it's like, "You're women. I want to buy for your women. How much for the little girl?"
Oh man, so I kind of prefer older women, but I'll take anything attractive. So. That sounded horrible. I'm sorry.
Hold on, just as long as she is over the age of consent.
You just took this to a dark place. I just made a nice apology. So anyways, the episode of Twilight Zone, The Midnight Sun.
Yes.
Talk about awkward and disturbing. No. So yeah, I think that... another influence, Space Ghost Coast to Coast.
I really want to get back to... I watched that growing up, but because... Let's see, that was, like 1999, 2000? Okay, I was only 8 years old back then, and I only recognized Space Ghost from, the Hanna-Barbera shows that would air during, the early years of Cartoon Network. And so... I noticed that I could definitely tell, even as a little kid, that this was definitely a type of humor that kind of a type of dry humor that I was not accustomed to. And I've seen, in the last 2 years, I went back and, because of my friend Dylan McCandless, who is Super DM64 on the podcast and here on YouTube, he is a huge Space Ghost Coast to Coast fan, and he got me back into, I looked up some whatever clips on YouTube that is available on YouTube, and I'm like, oh my god, I get this humor now. Thank you, adulthood.
Yeah.
And I really want to get into it. I'm not sure if it's available for streaming somewhere or if there's like a convenient complete series DVD that that's available. But yeah, I want to check it out.
I know the first 3 seasons or the first 3 volumes that are actually rather easy to get on DVD, and of course I got them on DVD.
Oh,
So
nice.
if you're ever down, we can watch them together.
Excellent. Dude, have you seen, did you know that Adult Swim almost every year, they would always air The Room for April Fools?
Oh, yeah, that.
Did you know that they had Space Ghost host the April Fool's airing of The Room, and he would actually interview Tommy Wiseau in the same fashion as he did in the show?
That poor animated spaceman.
It is there is a compilation out there after this Skype call. I'm going to share with you this link to like an entire full compilation of all the scenes between Space Ghost, Moltar, the Mantis guy, Zarkor. No, that's a different guy.
Zorak!
Zorak!
Get it right!
Damn it, get it right!
Yeah, Zorak!
I'm sorry, Zorak. Nobody really cares. Up your Space Ghost. But Zorak, Moltar, Space Ghost, they're all just talking to Tommy Wiseau, and they're all just equally freaked out about interacting with this person.
Yeah.
And with Tommy Wiseau, it's like, you don't, because he's so messed up in the head, like, you don't even, I sometimes theorize that he thinks that Space Ghost is actually real.
I honestly want to see what our man Moltar has to say about the whole situation.
Oh, Moltar is great.
Yeah. It's like, I know everyone likes Zorak, but Moltar was always the favorite character as far as me and my brothers went. Yeah. So much so that there was that great episode where it was kind of the Rashomon joke, aka the same story told from 3 different point of views.
Yeah.
And me and my brothers were so angry that the Moltar story was so underwhelming. So there I was in the control room, and then a car pulled up and talked to me. Why is it? I'm not much of a storyteller. I just press the button. Yeah, so I'm going to go get me some Jell-O in the commissary. I can't do a good Moltar impression.
Neither am I. You need to have like that digital distortion.
Oh, really? Okay.
I don't know. Can you? I don't know, mate. I'm not sure. His voice does kind of sound natural, but maybe it feels like his voice was digitally altered. I could be absolutely wrong, though.
Yeah, we are dealing with those mystical creatures known as voice actors from the land of Equestria, which were first discovered in the 1930s by a man named Danny Kaye. Now, Danny Kaye had a magnificent pompadour and a set of hair, which is more or less the same thing. And, okay. Already we're like almost in the 80-minute mark, and it's just silliness. Okay. So are you happy with all the creative influences I went over?
Yes, you've definitely gone over a lot of stuff, and I'm pretty sure you may have captivated some of the audience's members to check out a lot of the stuff that they maybe are slightly familiar with or maybe never heard about before.
Oh, that I deeply appreciate it. An audience, by all means, a lot of the stuff I recommended is actually pretty good. So, so what's...
Okay, so you mentioned before that, your biggest claim to fame was your collaboration with Brendan Tenold. I'm interested to hear how it was that you two came to meet.
That's a very interesting story. There is a race of interdimensional metallic-skinned teenagers called the Tozo Valsen.
My life.
Who desperately wanted to conquer the universe because they were bored. So they captured Danny Kaye, the They Might Be Giants, Madness, and the hot chick from the Twilight Zone episode, The Midnight Sun. Thankfully, okay, never mind. I think that's the last time I'm going to be doing this podcast.
Is
it? We'll see. But, okay, so how did I meet Brendan Tenold? Okay. We have the movie from 1978, Warlords of Atlantis, to thank for that. Mm-hmm. Now, oddly enough, long before I discovered Godzilla, I used to watch Warlords of Atlantis when it would air on primetime television on my local Channel 13. Mm-hmm. and again, Channel 13 was my pretty much my introduction to giant monster movies. Now, the funny thing is, I've always been a big fan of Warlords of Atlantis, and one night I was bored while working on computer, and I thought there's got to be a full-length version of the movie on YouTube. And it's a fun movie, even though it's a part of the 4 Doug McClure fantasy monster movies that were made in the late 70s.
Mm-hmm.
And personally, though, I honestly think At the Earth's Core is probably the most fun of the movies, even though it's probably the worst as far as adaptations go. But Warlords of Atlantis is lesser known because it's kind of under a weird copyright, and it's never really been released officially in America. But it used to air on television all the time. And one night I was bored. I thought it'd be cool just to play Warlords of Atlantis in the background while I did some artwork on a computer.
Mm-hmm.
And there I saw a couple of a full-length review for Warlords of Atlantis from a guy named Brendan. And honestly, I'm very hesitant to try new reviewers out because, they might have a horrible speaking voice like yours truly, especially when he tries to tell you about the history of Danny Kaye's war against the Tozo Balsans. Oh, God, that's horrible. I know. Okay, if anybody wants to do a picture of that, go by all means, you can do so. Like anybody does Danny Kaye fan art anymore. So, all right. The original Walter Mitty. So I decided to give this video a click, and I was greatly impressed by it. And then I unfortunately spent the rest of the night just watching what reviews you've already done, including Ape and the other Doug McClure films.
Mm-hmm.
And I basically gave a bunch of comments and then started talking to him through YouTube and email. So I was one of his earliest fans, I guess, mm-hmm. and we were in contact. And then an unfortunate event kind of brought me on as his title card artist, and that was, and don't worry, it's not going to be one of those stories. A true unfortunate event, and that being the passing of Ray Harryhausen.
Uh-huh.
We both grew up with the man's work, especially since, as Brendan himself says, we're both Monster Vision kids. Mm-hmm. We both grew up on Monster Vision marathons, and we loved the Ray Harryhausen movies whenever they'd air. And Ray Harryhausen was so beloved amongst the Turner Classic Network programming schedule that even outside Monster Vision, they would dedicate really special showings to some of these movies. Like, even with wonderful gimmicks, like... I believe his name is Bob Denver, the actor who played Gilligan in Gilligan's Island.
Mm-hmm.
He was asked to do a hosting segment for Mysterious Island, and that was kind of a charming misfire. But anyways, we were he wanted to do something really special to celebrate the man's life.
Right.
And like he said in his own video, he was going to do his favorite Ray Harryhausen monsters, but he decided just to go to the meat of it and do top 10 Ray Harryhausen movies. Right. But because this was going to be a special episode, he really wanted a title card to be featured throughout the episode, and he asked me, because he's seen my artwork, and I did offer if you ever need artwork for a skit or something, I'm more than for it. And he says, oh, dude, if you don't mind, and I know it's going to be a very complex image, but could you do this wide variety of Ray Harryhausen characters with me in the middle? Mm-hmm. And he had a fairly extensive list of what characters he wanted, but I was more than willing to fill in the blanks. That included some of my favorite Ray Harryhausen characters, mm-hmm. like Pegasus and the giant Archelon from 1 million years BC, aka the huge turtle that can be scared away. Yeah. So that title card was done, and in addition to the video itself being one of his best videos, it's one of the few mm-hmm. older episodes I revisit all the time. Mm-hmm. And even if I didn't have my artwork in it, it's still a great episode.
Right, definitely.
Yeah. The artwork itself actually got him a lot of extra notice, mm-hmm. and since then I've been his title card artist, and it went well. Until the workload got a little too big, and we had to bring in another guy to do additional title cards. Uh-huh. Thankfully, this guy is also a friend of mine and somebody I know from DeviantArt called Earth Baragon.
Right.
So and it worked out great because if I'm unavailable to do a title card, we get mm-hmm. Earth Baragon on it, or if vice versa. And even though we have two different styles we're still able to do that kind of wonderful offbeat thing with the title cards where we put Brendan Tennell with the interacting with the characters or monsters of the movie.
Yeah, yeah.
And even though Ray Harryhausen was the first, the next title card I did, Legend of the Dinosaurs, I think that really sealed the deal. Not only was that a really fun title card to do because I grew up with Legend of the Dinosaurs and I know the problems even back then as a kid. So I don't care what anyone says though. That soundtrack is awesome.
When it's on its own, yeah, but when placed into the context of the film, it really makes no sense whatsoever.
I don't know. It's like I know Godzilla has a Kirikafube, but that Rampharinkus and that disco theme, I'm in movie heaven.
Disco and monsters.
Exactly, a disco inferno, if you will. So
burn, baby, burn the mother down.
But no, it's like me and Brendan joked if I was ever given a chance to go to a convention with them and we had a panel, we try to play the theme song, the Rampharinkus attack music. That's the dinosaurs. That's our entrance intro. But anyways, so it's been a pretty good partnership. Now, I did meet Brendan in person, and
oh really?
Conflicting personalities. You know, he's Buster Keaton to my Jimmy Durante. And if you know the history of those two actors, that's kind of a sad comparison. But no, he's a great guy. You know, he's been very good at paying me. I've definitely gone the distance for him as he's done for me. And like he told me recently, without my help, he probably wouldn't be as famous as he is now. And I feel the same way about him. So yeah, that's how I was able to become a title card artist. The funny thing is, Gamera's 50th anniversary kind of went down the tube, so to speak. But now but thanks to his Patreon, he's going to be reviewing the first 8 Gamera movies, or at least the first 7.
Right, and as of this recording, the first 2 reviews are readily available for the listener.
Exactly, and I'm currently working on the title card for Gamera versus Gauss. And it's wonderful. Hopefully my personal life doesn't get in the way, but it's wonderful that I'm going to be doing at least 8 illustrations dedicated to Gamera, and I am a big fan of Gamera. Probably less so the movies and more the character. Yeah. But yeah, we'll get into that some other time.
I'm already liking the work that you've done so far, especially the little like Lucky Charms nod for Baragon.
Yeah. Just a quick aside. The first title card for the 1965 Gamera was just a play on that famous publicity image of Gamera holding.
I thought so. Yeah, I figured that was what it was referencing.
Flames. Yeah, exactly, and that was promptly shown on the VHS cover for Sandy Frank's Creature Feature video releases.
Where he's holding the woman in his hand, even though that never occurs anywhere in the movie. I mean, he holds a person in his hand, but it was clearly a different person altogether.
Yeah, and of course, inspired by the Mystery Science Theater, Kenny is an evil child, stick, whatever, gag. We decided to incorporate him writing on the back of Gamera, so that title card was a lot of fun, but it was also fairly straight-faced. The second title card was based completely on Brendan's idea, although I think I took the distance by having Gamera and Brendan burn in the as Brendan so elegantly put it, the death rainbow.
It's like, why is something so colorful so harmful?
Exactly.
Why must you confuse me so?
Of course, Baragon himself is holding the Lucky Charms. And it's funny, too, because I previously did a illustration with Baragon, but I did it kind of darkly humorous again. You know, he's standing triumphantly over a frozen city with some peepsicles, aka frozen corpses, all around him. That image was done fairly serious, so it was kind of nice to do Baragon again, but do it completely silly. Have him wear the Lucky Charms hat, have him hold a bowl of Lucky Charms, and the rainbow burning both Gamera and the Brendan in the background. And based on the way the first 2 title cards came out, I think the rest of the title cards are going to be a thing where the guest monster of the movie is going to be prominent on the right end, and then Gamera and Brendan are going to probably be on the left side doing some silly gag.
Yeah.
And I'm currently working on the one for Gamera vs. Gauss, although I can't reveal what the gag for that is.
Okay.
And we're still trying to work out what Gamera versus Virus is. I have an idea based on just how not good the movie is.
Yeah.
But it's such a weird concept. It's hard to really explain. But basically, it's Virus not giving a crap. I'm just trying to find a good way to visualize that without putting word balloons. So there's a good chance that might not end up being the title card. So I feel confident about sharing that. But
now, will Super Monster Gamera involve lightsabers in any way?
You know, if I don't do the gag about Virus not giving a crap, it's going to be Brendan and Gamera not giving a crap when that one comes along. But I'll throw in lightsabers. What the heck? It's, oh my goodness. Why is Godzilla's Revenge considered a worse movie than Super Monster Gamera?
I have no idea. Maybe it's because for the longest time, Super Monster Gamera, the Super Monster, or Super Monster Gamera, however you like to pronounce the title, it has been unavailable for quite some time for the public masses. I mean, not even Mystery Science Theater really covered, they never covered that movie. I believe Elvira may have covered that movie. But other than that, it's not like one of those public domain movies. Like, a lot of the Gamera movies were released on VHS and DVD by a bunch of, public domain companies, or a lot of companies that specialized in public domain releases. And Super Monster Gamera, for whatever reason, well, I think we know the reason, because it was terrible, it was never, released. So, while on the other hand, Godzilla's Revenge was always readily available on VHS, and especially, around, 2007, when Classic Media put it out on an official DVD.
Yeah, do you mean Classic Media or Shout Factory?
Classic Media. They are the ones who put out Godzilla's Revenge and Invasion of Astro Monster.
Okay. Yeah, I was thinking of Super Monster Gamera. It's like, when did Classic Media do Gamera?
Oh no, I was just talking about how Classic Media, they put out Godzilla's Revenge, or All Monsters Attack, if you're one of those people who likes to use that title. They put it out on DVD a lot sooner than when Super Monster Gamera eventually came out from Shout Factory.
This conversation bores me. Who would win in a battle, Miss Devlin or Princess Dragon Mom? Go!
Sorry, just trying to be educational here.
I want to talk about horn busty babes fighting each other to the death.
Now in Enshohma, there's a time and place for that sort of thing.
Fine. Oh my goodness. Who would win in a battle? Jennifer Colony from Labyrinth or Uma Thurman from The Adventures of Baron Munchausen? Go! Who's the hotter teenage chick? Okay, now that's just getting weird. All right, never mind. Sorry.
It's like, I'm judging the physical attractiveness of an underage girl. I'm scared. I'm moving on.
Screw this, Enshohma. You took it a weird place. Now, if we were talking about Angelica Houston, that'd be a much different story. Yes, she aged like a fine wine.
Can we get back to normalcy? Normalcy,
okay.
Where we're going, we don't need normalcy. Dun, 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 dun.
This is like when Porky Pig visited the last dodo. Guess who's the dodo?
That's a Looney Tunes character you almost never see outside of the original shorts.
We probably would have never even known that character had Tiny Toons not gone out of its way to reference it. So.
Yeah, because they made their own little Tiny Toon version of the dodo.
Yeah, and he was had a Sphinx for a girlfriend? I don't know. So, okay, anyways, getting back to, before I ruin this conversation with my
your Gamera title cards.
Yes, my Gamera title cards. I can't wait till we get to Gamera vs. Zigra, and then I can throw in some chicks in there. No, I'm just... Because as you know, Gamera doesn't... Zigra hires human women for a reason, so...
And one of those women is in a bikini for the majority of the film.
I'll take anything. Oh, that's just me. That's our Enshohma. Okay, so okay, so the funny thing, getting back to Super Monster Gamera, you bring up a really good point. A lot of bad movies that are considered the worst are only considered the worst because they're readily available. Like I think a lot of people like to take a dump on the works of Ed Wood because, they just happen to be infamous, even knowing that some of them are actually kind of charming and entertaining in their own right. And I hate to say it, when Ed Wood was given a decent budget, he was a very competent director. Of course, but then again, movies like The Violent Years is not as fun as Plan 9 from Outer Space. Um, and that's probably because there are way worse movies than Godzilla's Revenge, Super Monster Gamera, or practically anything from Sci-Fi.
Sorry, that's a helicopter in my neighborhood.
Oh my goodness, Sci-Fi Channel. No. And then of course, there's a lot worse movies out there. Yet the ones that people know best are the ones that get the most hatred. It's always the devil, not the horrible thing that lives in the basement underneath hell.
I mean, I'm pretty sure like most people wouldn't even know the likes of Manos, The Hands of Fate, had it not been for MST3K.
Exactly. Although to be fair, Manos is it's a movie so bad that you have to see it to believe it. And even then, it's like I have one friend, Louis Calderon, who runs a card shop called Final Destination Games. You can find him on Facebook, and he's a talented artist and a writer in his own right. He can't stand that movie, even with the Mystery Science Theater commentary over it, because he really hates it that badly. But then again, the poor son of a gun saw Manos: The Hands of Fate before Mystery Science Theater did it. So he's in a position that none of us normal human beings could even contemplate. So, oh, poor man. So, but yeah, and by the way, we're not going to get into detail about it because you need to see it to believe how bad it is.
Yeah.
But as far as I'm concerned, one of the worst movies I've ever seen is the live-action adaptation of the Devilman movie.
Ah, yes, the movie we always come back to.
Yeah. I like that. It's everything I hate about the modern-day world of Japanese fantasy films and live-action adaptations of cartoon shows or comics capsulized in this terrible 2.5-hour cluster F of whatever the heck it was.
I'm honestly surprised that there aren't as many reviews of the Devilman movie out there. I mean, I know Decker Shadow, he reviewed it, and he was much more lenient on the film because he was he wasn't familiar with Devilman to begin with. All he knew that, it basically followed the story of the manga, even if it was.
Traitor! Bring him to me and dip him in boiling oil!
I do not know who this man is, but I want him dead!
You have failed us, and those who have failed must die! Oh.
Well, yeah, because of that, I will know. If I ever get the chance to review all the Devilman animes, I will check out that movie and, be one of those few people who will review it online.
And you've heard me go into rants about it, so you know what you're expecting.
Yeah, pretty much. And judging by by Decker Shadow's review from like the footage I've seen from his review, it's like, oh. I'm like Harry Plinkett from the Red Letter Media reviews. Oh.
I'm like that one guy from Hardcore. It's like, make it stop, make it stop, make it stop.
Stop it, I'm feeling better now.
Exactly. It's like
orange.
Oh my goodness. It's like, you've taken something beautiful and you ruined it! Said evil Malcolm McDowell.
I don't know where this quote came from, but I always heard it in one of the Spill.com websites. I gave you the chance to be a hero, and you blew it! But,
we see terrible things if we live too long, so there are things out there in the universe more horrible than comprehension. But, okay, ladies and gentlemen in the audience, you thought the Rhino Reynolds Green Lantern movie was bad? Go watch the live-action movie version of Devilman and suffer rightfully.
Okay, now what do you think is worse, Devilman or Godzilla 98?
Devilman! What are you, insane?
Ah, shit.
The 98 movie had the professional in it. That alone is at least worth something. It's the devil. Oh, that's a note. How dare you mention that?
Hold on your butts, ladies and gentlemen. So yeah, you did mention that when it came to the Devilman movie, it represents everything that you hate about like the modern day fantasy action movies, along with Japanese fantasy action movies, and specifically. Where I think we've talked about this before, and even earlier in this recording, where like you mentioned how in modern day fantasy sci-fi movies, they tend to keep the more fantastical elements of the story to a minimum, because I guess audiences maybe because I guess filmmakers today, they think that modern day mainstream audiences, mainstream moviegoers are probably wouldn't be able to buy or wouldn't be able to accept these fantastical elements, so that's why they keep them to a minimum. And in the case of a Japanese special effects heavy film, they tend to keep the special effects to a minimum as for financial reasons.
Yeah. I love Japanese fantasy films, but the movies, like, my God, the monster movies and the sci-fi movies and the fantasy films from the comedy movies from the samurai movies from the 1960s, they blow the water out of a lot of the stuff that's happened recently, and that's why I always dread whenever I hear, Toho's going to make a big budget live action version of an anime, because it's gonna be always the same. It's going to start out with something really cool in the first 10 minutes, and then it's a complete slog of a movie, and then maybe something cool will happen at the end. The Devilman movie is a perfect example of that. It's literally a movie where you forget there's even demons in it until the last 10 minutes. And even then they try to wrap up the apocalypse. I don't
and even then the special effects themselves are shit.
Yeah.
I've seen the other separate clips of the CGI, and the way Devilman moves, he looks like a wooden puppet with rubber skin on him. So he's like he's got very robotic movements where it's like there is no sense of weight to him.
Oh, there's an even worse scene where a bunch of demons are hiding out in a mansion and they all get massacred as they try to escape. But it's such a poorly animated sequence. It literally looks like a really crappy stop-motion screensaver playing on top of footage from a gangster movie. Where people are just shooting into a house. And dude, please watch the live-action Devilman movie and make a podcast. And at the end of it, it's like, yes, Enshohma, I know what you're saying. I've been there. Maybe
we'll do that thing that even Doug Walker did for his review of The Room, where other people are just coming towards him and like, listen, are you mad? You can't review that movie. Away with you!
If you do that, I'll film some footage and you can take it off my YouTube channel of me just going crazy in a ditch somewhere. So.
Or like we're recording, we're having a Skype conversation, and like I'm recording myself in front of my computer. You're doing the same. It's like, what movie are you reviewing? Oh, I'm doing Devilman. Let's say you have a pencil in your hand. You're like a water bottle in your hand, you drop it in. It's like, are you mad? Are you insane? And I'm quietly putting my headphones down and quietly moving away from the computer as you're going on your 20-minute rant. Cut to the intro.
Oh my goodness. Oh Lord.
And now we spoiled. If we ever did do that later down the road, it's going to be completely spoiled because of this podcast.
Yeah, no. You need to watch it. You need to share your thoughts. And I dare the lucky bastards listening to this to watch that movie. I hate that live-action Devilman. It's
to quote Doug Walker, rape my childhood, will you?
My childhood, you raped everything. Oh my God, it's oh my God. So let's change subjects before this becomes a 3-hour.
All right.
Oh my.
Well, speaking of Devilman, there is going to be that upcoming Devilman, Cyborg 009 versus Devilman. Apparently it's an OVA that's going to be edited into a movie, or it's an OVA that's getting a theatrical release.
Japan, why do you have to complicate things?
I'm going to call it a movie for the sake of simplicity.
Yeah, I'm finally happy to see all these fictional characters in Japan finally having crossovers and real crossovers as opposed to like some lesser-known video game. No offense, Robot Wars. Super Robot Wars or something?
Super Robot Wars. By
Yeah,
the way, I never thought I would find a Japanese Super Robot Wars games at a swap meet this past weekend.
Oh, good for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, but no, I'm finally happy to see real crossovers happening. Unfortunately, that's kind of give or take because I didn't like any of the crossovers between Kamen Rider and Super Sentai. Those films were just obnoxious, you know.
They're just like big flashy fights with no real meat to them, no actual like story.
That would be okay if it was entertaining, but the fact that the stories are all the same. The Kamen Riders and the Power Rangers are fighting amongst themselves, and then at the last minute they remembered, oh, there's a villain we're supposed to defeat. Okay, I guess we gotta work together. So it's like it's a Marvel movie then.
It's your typical crossover story.
Yeah, a Marvel movie.
Hopefully they'll make. Hopefully I'd like to see. It seems like they're going to do that thing where Devilman and Cyborg 009 are going to fight each other, but who knows? Maybe they'll find some interesting way of, interconnecting their universes together. I know one of my fans, Eugene Alejandro, he gave me he pitched to me a premise that I thought was pretty interesting, where what if in this movie the Cyborg 009 universe was the rebooted universe that occurred after the ending of Devilman, and that somehow Devilman was like, he was able to cross over into the new universe, and, that's how you get them together. I'm sure that makes no sense whatsoever to anybody who doesn't know the ending of Devilman.
Yeah, well, not just that, but it just doesn't make sense in general. Can't we just have our two heroes happen to meet? Because
yeah, I figured that may be the easier case.
Yeah. This this isn't a case like oh my god, what? It's like, okay, just having these two characters exist in the same world makes sense because it's a big world, and even though Devilman and Cyborg 009 are fighting to save the world, or the world is at stakes, there's still a little more intimate story-wise that you could get away with these two characters existing in the same world, even knowing that if you know the ending of Devilman, there's no way he could easily fit in any other universe. But at least you can get away with that explanation. No offense to your friend, that explanation is just as idiotic as some of the fanfics that try to say, "Oh, Star Trek and Star Wars exist in the same universe." And that doesn't really, it's too complex, too silly, too dumb.
If you think that's out there, you should really check out some of the crazy crossover ideas that my friend Deadpoolzilla has come up with in the past.
Oh my god, yeah.
No offense, Deadpoolzilla, but this is a person who is obsessed with crossovers, and he would often come up with a lot of crossovers, like the most randomest crossovers to things that aren't even like similar to each other whatsoever.
You mean like Danny Kaye and fighting the forces of the Toes of Alcyn?
Sure, let's go with that.
Okay.
So yeah, if you want to talk crossovers, talk to that guy.
Yeah, I don't know. Crossovers are a hard thing to do. It's like, unless not the universes, the two separate franchises or continuities can kind of meld together, and Devilman, before you get to that climax, actually would meld easily with any other fictional universe. So yeah, I'm totally up for a Devilman meets Cyborg 009 because I do like both characters. I'm a bigger fan of the 009 cyborgs, more so than Devilman. And it would be kind of neat to see what kind of story they do, but at the same time, I don't know. I hope it's not one of those Japanese crossovers where the two characters barely interact outside the last 5 minutes or something.
Yeah. So, did you ever? I forgot. I don't know if I've ever asked you this question, but did you ever saw the Mazinger Z Devilman crossover film?
Now that's how you do a crossover. You just have the two characters instantly meet, join forces, and you just run with the idea and have fun. It's for a 40-minute movie. It's really, really good. Another really good Japanese crossover movie, and I highly recommend it because it's again another example of the heroes get over their BS after an initial fight, and then just join each other on a really good adventure. Is Gokaiger versus Gavan, or Pirate Sentai Gokaiger versus Space Sheriff Gavan. and that was a really fun movie, especially since they brought back the Space Sheriff Gavon, by the way, was a series from the 1980s, and they brought back the original actor to play the character, and he's
Was
just
he the
awesome.
original, the very first Metal Hero?
Yes, he was.
Okay, because whenever I look up Metal Heroes, he's like the most... Space Sheriff Gavon is usually like the most prominent one.
Yeah, and it's funny, Toei, they decided to celebrate the anniversary of the Metal Hero franchise, or the Space Sheriff trilogy, to be more exact, by, not only doing a new movie starring the original actor who played Gavon, but also have it as a crossover with the Go-Kaijers. And there's a lot of really clever bits. There's a lot of great action sequences in it.
Is that the same... Sorry to interrupt you. Is that the same movie that also featured Kikaider Reboot in a cameo?
No, if he's in there, I don't remember him at all.
Okay, so probably a different Sentai crossover movie.
Yeah, I hate to say it. There's so many Sentai crossovers recently, and a lot of them aren't very good. It's like the Kamen Rider versus Super Sentai movies are just obnoxious. Like really, like imagine an anime filled with a bunch of annoying characters butting heads, and then they fight a villain in the last 5 minutes, and that's it.
I figure they're like how these characters live in the same universe. They never really go into explanation with that. It's like they live in the same universe only when it's convenient.
Actually, to be fair, as much as I don't like the Kamen Rider versus Super Sentai movies, I really do like the explanation is they exist in two alternate universes.
Oh, okay.
But with the Gokaiger and Gavon, because both superheroes, the heroic space pirates, the Gokaigers, and Space Sheriff Gavon, they're both aliens, and they've both been on Earth on separate times. The 80s and 2014 or whatever.
2010, yeah.
2010, yes, thank you. So when they meet, it's just two space alien superheroes meeting, and it's ladies and gentlemen, definitely check out that movie. That's how you do a crossover right, I think, in my opinion. In fact, I think an even better crossovers are some of the better Power Ranger crossovers when different seasons meet up with one another.
Yeah, especially like the one where they have the Alien Rangers and the Mighty Morphin Rangers, or like the Space Rangers and the Galaxy Rangers.
Oh yeah, oh god, that supposed two-parter from Lost Galaxy is fantastic. But my personal favorite is from Wild Force, where it's
Forever Red, or the Wild Force meets Time Force.
The former, because they had 2 episodes to let the premise breathe. Really good little character moments for everybody, even when some of the characters kind of got shorthand in the screen time. And Forever Red is a lot of fun. I'll give credit to Forever Red, but I think the 2-parter with the Wild Force and the Time Rangers interacting is a superior adventure, or crossover, if you will. And yeah, and of course some of the recent Ultraman movies have been really good. Well, most of them. It's like some of them, like Ultraman Saga and Ultraman S Ginga, the movie, kind of entertaining but mediocre. But then you have movies like the 6 Ultra Brothers, or the 8 Ultra Brothers, or my personal favorite, Ultraman Zero, the movie. It's my god, that talk about an overlooked kaiju classic of the modern era. It's, ladies and gentlemen, it's Ultraman meets the Star Wars prequels done right. And that's Ultraman Zero, the movie. It's like, it's so good you don't even have to watch the predecessor, because Ultraman Zero is a sequel to Ultra Galaxy Legends.
Right.
I don't know.
The only the information you would really need to know is just Ultraman Zero's backstory, which is featured in Ultra Galaxy Legend, the movie.
Yeah, but then again, it's such a fantastic adventure movie that takes its big premise and goes with it. And it's so sad it gets overlooked because it's the sequel to Ultra Galaxy Legends. And Ultra Galaxy Legends is a fun movie, but it's definitely not a movie for a novice to enter.
Because not at all.
No,
I mean, you really need to have a lot of... This is for people who are like the hardcore fans who have been following this shit at least since... Let's say since Mebius, because Mebius at least brings you up to speed with all the Showa stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And I think my friend Burkion, he said it best, that Ultraman Mebius is a great way to introduce non-fans into a fan-heavy Ultra series.
Absolutely. I always recommend Mebius to anybody who wants to get into Ultraman.
Yeah, and also it's a more coherent storylines than whatever the hell is going on in Max or Cough Cough Jigga. But yeah, no, Ultraman Zero, the movie, man, I love that film. It's
Hmm.
it takes its big premise, it goes with it. It's and when the Japanese do a space adventure and they do it right, it's oh
Hmm.
my god, it's cinematic heaven. So
Also, it's really interesting how they pay a lot of loving respect to their previous heroes with those three like ragtag group characters that Zero meets along the way that are each based off a previous creation of Subaraya's.
yes, oh, absolutely, absolutely. For those at home that don't know the movie, the plot is that Ultraman Zero, who's the newest Ultra hero, the youngest Ultra hero, he has to travel to an alternate universe where there are no Ultramen to save it from an evil member of his race, Ultraman Belial, who has created his own empire of evil robots and alien overlords. Thankfully, there are other alien heroes who live in this world. Each of them are homages or direct references to other Tuberaya production shows from the 70s, like Joan Borges, Mirror Man, and
Fireman.
Fireman, yes. And from there, it's just a full-on space adventure. It's a hell of a lot of fun. It's great. I would definitely recommend that movie. So
And it's very interesting that we in that movie actually feature, even though we've had alternate continuities in the Ultraman franchise. I
right.
think this may be the first time where we see an actual representation of the Ultraman multiverse. I mean, in the previous film, we had Ultraman Dyna show up from his continuity into the mainstream one,
Uh
uh,
huh.
but this is the first time we actually see like a physical depiction of the multiverse, which I find to be very fascinating, especially when Ultraman, what was it? Ultraman Noah himself makes an appearance.
Oh yeah, that is true. He is in there. So yeah, no, I love multiverse stories, and they definitely work a lot better than stories where characters exist in the same universe. Although again, I would still want to see how they handle the Cyborg 009
Yeah,
Devilman crossover,
because
and hopefully,
I think the whole we come from from another dimension bit, I think that can get pretty old in terms of crossover stories. Like they did that with the recent Ghostbusters Ninja Turtle crossover in with the IDW comic.
I never even knew that happened, and I'm interested in seeing it. But then again, um, I don't know. I love what IDW's been doing with Ghostbusters, but I'm a little wary of Ninja Turtles right now. But that's just a personal thing.
Don't worry, they brought Donatello back.
Uh, oh, it's not just that. It's the current Nickelodeon series just kind of rubs me the wrong way.
Uh-huh.
So it looks fantastic. It's a gorgeous looking show,
Uh-huh.
but it's the characters get on my nerves. So
Where they're
oh
causing a lot of destruction in without regard towards the non-existent people of New York.
yeah, kind of, yeah. Yeah. So in other words, it's an episode of Bleach or or whatever. Insert anime here filled with obnoxious assholes. So,
All
oh,
right.
I said a curse word. Uh,
Gasp, the world is going to destroy itself.
I have ruined everything.
You
I
have
jump
broke reality.
I jump out the window, and it's we just switch to stock footage of a dummy falling off a cliff.
No, it's
Well,
that one clip from, what was it? Mac and Me with the kid in the wheelchair falling from that cliff.
actually, I was thinking Leonard Nimoy from his unsuccessful TV series Baffled. So they just throw like a Leonard Nimoy dummy off the cliff, and it's like, "Oh, live long and not prosper." Oh, poor Leonard, we miss you.
I wonder if it's
Do
too
it.
soon.
Okay. So,
No, no.
uh, give me a moment.
He would want it this way. So it looks like we have reached the end of another episode of Shuwatch Super Dynamic Ultra Force Go. I can't thank you enough, Enshohma, for finally being on the show. I knew that from the many conversations that we've had over the phone that, the conversations that we tend to have, I feel like you can take all the conversations that we've had in the past and you could use that to make like an extra 10 episodes, 10, 15 episodes of Shoe Watch. And I'm just really glad to have gotten the opportunity to have you here on the show. And hopefully people are just as entertained by, you and your knowledge of, a lot of entertainment as I have been tonight.
Well, if this particular episode is successful enough, I'd be more than happy to come back and do more episodes, especially since there was a lot of subjects we didn't touch upon, like my surprise disliking for Ultraman Tiga. So
Or Golden
that
Bat.
I don't know Golden Bat that well, but I was going to say the whole Ultraman Tiga Enshohma no likey.
Yeah.
It could almost make a whole hour episode onto itself.
Yeah. At least we were able to cover the Tiga thing has been a constant reoccurrence in our conversations, but at least we were able to bring up Devilman. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, exactly. And thank you so much for asking me a lot of really good questions, and hopefully I kind of turned on a lot of people onto tons of wonderful movies and TV shows.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
And not only that, but if I get my comic projects off the ground, then let's definitely go over that stuff together. So
Absolutely.
Okay, so any final questions before we end this?
Yes, where can the audience find you and your work?
Well, in the fortress of obscure comedians ran by the mighty Danny Kaye. No, okay.
Here we go again.
I had to, just one more time.
I know. I gotta admit, it's a really nice running gag for this episode.
Yeah, it's like, and why Danny Kaye, of all people? So, the first Walter Mitty movie is actually really good, I think. But anyways, you can find me on Enshohma at deviant.com. I also have a Facebook page, Enshohma Lives. That's a public Facebook page, so anyone can visit it. You don't have to be a member of Facebook. I'm on regular Facebook as Raf Enshohma, but I'm kind of picky about friends there. I have a YouTube channel, also under Enshohma, although the video theirs aren't as wonderful as the stuff you find on KaijuNoir's YouTube channel. And so far, those are the only... Oh, of course, I totally forgot. I have a blog called Enshohma Corner, and Enshohma's Corner, and basically you can find any of these easily through a Google search engine or any search engine, but let me spell Enshohma for you, even though they're probably looking at the title of this title card right now. So... unless you're putting a bunch of random images of Miss Devlin and Princess Dragon Mom, then I'll love you for it. So, don't tempt me. Enshohma is spelled Enshhohma, and I know that's kind of a weird name to have, which again is spelled Enshhohma. But it's the name I'm most well known online, and I've decided to stick with it as my artistic pen name. So, and of course, are you going to try to put links below?
Absolutely, I'll provide links for all of that in the description below, along with Brandon Tenold's YouTube channel.
Then, ladies and gentlemen, totally forget everything I just told you in the last 4 minutes. Just scroll down and read the more helpful information.
I don't know. Some people tend to ignore the description.
Yeah, of course, they can't read because you're all idiots.
Every single one of you.
Oh, you're an idiot and you're a buffoon. you little girl, the one reading the book. Is that the Oxford Dictionary? Well, you're still an idiot.
And why would you be listening to such an inappropriate show such as this?
Exactly. We say words like poopy and butt. Okay, so I think we should end it right here and right now.
And we like to objectify women.
Exactly. Ellison Hayes, here they come.
We are the enemies of Tumblr and their easily triggered nonsense.
So that means we're going to do a podcast based on my original character, Miss Blue, right?
So yes, as I mentioned before, that is the end of our latest episode of Shuwatch Super Dynamic Ultra Force Go. Please support Enshohma as much as you can, and be sure to check out his work both on his DeviantArt, Facebook, and all that stuff, as well as check out Brandon Tenold, a really great comedic style reviewer. Definitely check him out. And so I have been your host, Andres Perez, aka KaijuNoir.
And I have been Enshohma, the greatest man who ever lived, second only to Danny Kaye.
And until next time, everybody, take care.
See ya.